5 crimes.
Great.
5 victims.
Hi, this is 911. We just got a hang-up call. Is everything okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm okay. Sorry.
5 completely different cases. At first, they seem unrelated. A transgender man tortured for weeks before he was killed.
Said, I love you, I'll call you tomorrow, and I have not talked to Sam's sons. It's heartbreaking. I'm devastated.
A state lawmaker was assassinated inside her own home.
Universal health care? Fully funding our schools?
She spent her night.
A woman convicted in a case where the jury couldn't decide if she was a murderer or a victim. A couple executed while their children slept just rooms away. And a public figure shot by a man who allegedly announced his plan before pulling the trigger. Different victims, different killers. But every one of these crimes exposed the same terrifying truth. The people who should have been protected weren't. This is the story of 5 devastating crimes and the failures that made them possible. Welcome to Darkest Crimes. Sam Nordquist was 24 years old. He grew up in Red Wing, Minnesota, a small river town of 16,000 people on the Mississippi. Quiet main street, gray sky most of the winter. Sam worked at a group home for people with disabilities in Little Canada. His mother, Linda, described him as someone with a heart of gold, an animal lover, someone who gave without accounting for it.
He was funny, he was compassionate, generous. He was just all these amazing things wrapped into one little short person.
He had done the hard, honest work of figuring out who he was, and he was clear about it. In September 2024, he left Red Wing for Hopewell, New York. Finger Lakes region, rural, quiet in a different way. He had met someone online, a woman named Precious Arzuaga. He thought he was going to meet her. He planned to be back home in 2 weeks. He ended up at Patty's Lodge. Room 22, a roadside motel in the town of Hopewell, Ontario County. 7 people were waiting there. He didn't know that.
24-year-old Sam Nordquist traveled to the New York-Rochester area back in September. He was due back in Minnesota by October 12th. Nobody heard from him since the new year. Now his family is grieving in New York.
Troopers and prosecutors in Ontario County call it one of the most horrific homicide cases they've seen. It involves a man reported missing from Minnesota. Police say he was tortured and killed.
What followed? Between January and February 2nd, 2025, was described by the Ontario County District Attorney as, and I'm using his exact words, beyond depraved. According to prosecutors, Sam was held captive inside that room. He was beaten repeatedly. He was sexually assaulted. He was starved. He was subjected to weeks of sustained physical and psychological abuse from multiple people.
Police told us Sam Nordquist was subjected to physical and mental torture before he died. Sam's body found in an empty field. A warning, some of the details in this case might be disturbing.
My poor brother. He was just a baby. 24 years old is too young to die. And is too young to be murdered and tortured.
According to the indictment, 2 children, ages 7 and 12, who prosecutors allege were coerced into participating. New York State Police, Captain Kelly Swift, a 20-year law enforcement veteran, called this one of the most horrific crimes she had ever investigated. No human being should have to endure what Sam endured.
Sam was beaten, assaulted, sexually abused, starved, held captive. And we cannot make sense of that. We cannot put that on his gender, and we cannot put that on his race. And I know many will ask the question, why? Well, as I stand here today as a human being, we'll never know the answer why. Because what human being could do what happened to Sam? We'll never make sense of this case. That coercion charge is disturbing. To have 2 children have to participate in the beating of another human being, and it's deeply disturbing, and it has, I can speak for myself and everyone involved in this investigation, been one of the most troubling parts of this. It's heartbreaking.
8 calls, Police were called to that motel 8 separate times while Sam Nordquist was inside. 8 separate opportunities. His family had also been pressing authorities. Sam's mother, Linda, had been alarmed for weeks by how rarely he was in contact. She had requested welfare checks. She had been making calls.
If you're doing a welfare check, separate the two individuals. That's what happened. They didn't separate them. I mean, this was the third, I believe it was the third welfare check that I had done. And Sam was homesick and that they were trying to come up with an escape plan. Sam was supposed to go back on the 19th and never went back, which DSS should have followed up. But Sam isn't a grown adult and they just didn't do that. But if they would have, Sam possibly could still be alive.
Sam himself, according to the family, had reached out to a local social services agency and indicated he was in danger. Linda Nordquist said publicly, through tears, "Sam may be alive today if they would have done their jobs." His body was found on February 13, 2025, in a field in Yates County, 50 miles from the motel, wrapped in plastic, left in a farmer's field.
He was sweet, he was kind, he was love, he was laughter, and he was just an all-around good person. And she took advantage of him. Precious took advantage of him. She manipulated him, she lured him, and I think she wanted to kill him from the day she met him.
The date of death is recorded as February 2nd. He had been missing for weeks before anyone confirmed he was gone. 7 defendants were charged: Precious Arzuaga, 38, Kyle Sage, 33, Patrick Goodwin, 30, Jennifer Quijano, 30, Emily Motica, 19, Kimberly Sochia, 29, Thomas Eves, 21. Charges include first-degree murder, kidnapping, conspiracy, aggravated sexual abuse, and endangering the welfare of a child. Precious Arzuaga, who prosecutors describe as the ringleader, pleaded guilty to every charge against her.
We are following breaking news this midday. The woman described as the ringleader in the torture and killing of Sam Nordquist has pleaded guilty to all charges.
I don't know why she all of a sudden feels guilty. She wasn't guilty when she was raping him and beating him and starving him. She didn't feel guilty then. I don't believe she feels guilty now.
All 11 counts. No plea deal. Life in prison without the possibility of parole. She may also face separate federal prosecution where the death penalty is possible. The remaining defendants have not yet gone to trial. Some of those trials are not scheduled until 2027. Linda Nordquist and her daughter Kayla will be traveling between Minnesota and New York for years before this is finished. Sam's name is now on the Stonewall Wall of Honor. His family has been asked what they want people to know. Sam was not a case. He called his mother on New Year's Day. 8 calls were made to that motel while he was inside. The system had 8 chances. June 14th, 2025, 2 a.m., Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. Quiet residential neighborhoods, dark streets. A black Ford Explorer pulled up to a house. Emergency lights on, flashing. The man who got out was wearing blue body armor. He was wearing a realistic silicone mask. He knocked on the door. He said he was a police officer. He was not a police officer.
Vance Belter has been arrested and charged in the deaths of Melissa and Mark Hortman and attempted murder of State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette.
The murders of Speaker of the House Melissa Hortman and Mark Hortman, shooting of Senator John Hoffman and Yvette Hoffman, and the attempted shooting of Hope Hoffman are among the worst political violence crimes that we have seen.
The churches are so messed up. Les églises sont vraiment un désastre. They don't know abortion is wrong, many churches, especially in America. Il y a des gens, particulièrement aux États-Unis. They don't know what sex they are. They don't know how their sexual orientation. They're confused.
His name was Vance Belter, 57 years old, from Green Isle, Minnesota. And he had been planning this for a long time. When law enforcement searched Belter's vehicle, they found 5 firearms, semi-automatic assault-style rifles, a large quantity of ammunition, and several notebooks. Inside those notebooks, a list, 45 names, all public officials, all with home addresses noted. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar, U.S. Senator Tina Smith, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, Senator Hoffman, Representative Hortman.
They later searched Belter's car, where they found 5 more firearms, including assault-style rifles and a large quantity of ammunition. Belter also had in his car notebooks containing a list of more than 45 Minnesota state and federal elected officials, including Representative Hortman. He used the internet and other tools to find their addresses and names, the names of their family members. He conducted surveillance of their homes and took notes about the location of their homes.
Beside Melissa Hortman's name in one notebook, married Mark, 2 children, 11th term. In another notebook, big house off golf course, 2 ways in, watch from one spot. He had surveilled her home. He had taken notes on how to approach. That night, Boelter went to 4 houses. At 2 of them, no one was home. Investigators said later, if officers hadn't encountered Boelter at the Hortman house, forcing him to abandon his vehicle, I have every confidence this would have continued throughout the day. At 2 a.m., Boelter arrived at Senator John Hoffman's house in Champlin. He knocked, identified himself as a police officer. When Hoffman tried to push him out of the house, Boelter shot him and his wife Yvette and attempted to shoot their daughter Hope, who called 911. Yvette Hoffman said later, "He took 9 bullet hits. I took 8. We are both incredibly lucky to be alive."
I was woken up to this abrupt pounding, banging, and I could see lights, on the side of the, outside the window, right? And I'm like, what's going on? Then he started firing, and then it was pop, pop, pop. It was those pop sounds. First one here, second one here. I watched the third one come through. I saw it come through the door and enter me. And then he was shooting directly. She got 6 here, 2 here. She got shot 8 times. I'm grateful to be alive, Tom.
Boelter then drove to 2 other houses on his list. Both were empty. Both officials were away. Then he drove to Brooklyn Park, to Melissa Hortman's house. Local police, hearing of the Hoffman shooting, had already been dispatched to check on the Hortmans. When officers arrived, they saw the black SUV with its flashing lights. They saw Boelter standing at the door. He fired into the house, repeatedly, striking Mark Hortman. Then he rushed inside and shot Melissa.
Because we begin with breaking news out of Minnesota right now, where 2 Democratic state lawmakers have been shot. One is dead, another is injured.
Speaker Melissa and her husband Mark were shot and killed early this morning in what appears to be a politically motivated assassination. Speaker Hortman was someone who served the people of Minnesota with grace, compassion, humor, and a sense of service.
The largest manhunt in Minnesota history began. It lasted 2 days. He was found in a field in Green Isle, near his family home, on the evening of June 15th.
The neighbors in this area really are going to miss Mark and Melissa. They were wonderful people.
Melissa was a very sweet neighbor, and she was like the light of our neighborhood. And, losing her and Mark is just, it's unbelievable.
Melissa Hortman served 11 terms in the Minnesota House. She was one of the most consequential progressive leaders in state history, known on both sides of the aisle as someone who was calm, deliberate, effective. Her children, Sophie and Colin, released a statement 2 days after her death. They did not make themselves available for media. They asked for privacy. Vance Boelter was indicted on 6 federal charges: the stalking and murders of Melissa and Mark Hortman, the stalking and shooting of John and Yvette Hoffman, and the attempted shooting of Hope Hoffman. He faces a maximum penalty of life in prison or death. The investigation into the full scope of what he planned, and whether anyone else knew, remains active. A list of 45 names, home addresses noted. Surveillance complete. The machinery that stopped him that night was a coincidence. Officers on their way to do a safety check, not a system that caught the plan before it began. August 2016, Sarasota, Florida, a political fundraiser. Warm evening, the kind of event where everyone is performing something. Ashley Byers was 24 years old, a trained dancer, precise and disciplined. She had danced with the Maryland Youth Ballet. She was at that fundraiser the way young people sometimes end up at events, through a connection, for a reason she couldn't quite explain later. She met Douglas Benefield. He was 54, 30 years older. She told the jury years later, he was funny, very smart, charming. We just instantly clicked. 13 days after that fundraiser, they were married. Doug invited almost no one, not even his teenage daughter Eva, who, 9 months earlier, had discovered her own mother's body at home, dead from an undiagnosed heart condition. Eva was the one who found her. Doug had made Eva a promise after that. No remarrying. I'm here for you.
It was August of 2016, about 9 months after my mom passed. My dad was on the phone when he picked me up from school, and he had his phone on speaker, and they mentioned him having a girlfriend and if he was going to bring his girlfriend too. They were just with each other all the time. It was very lovey-dovey. They were very touchy-feely, PDA, any event with school or extracurricular that I was in, they were together. They'd go grocery shopping together, go travel together. They never left each other's side.
9 months later, he was married to a stranger. Doug and Ashley had a daughter, Emerson. The marriage deteriorated, and around Emerson, around the question of custody, everything accelerated. The prosecution's argument, Ashley Benefield was facing a custody battle she believed she was going to lose.
He would call it a fit of rage. Sometimes it was as simple as him just yelling and screaming at me or cussing at me, calling me names. Other times he would throw things or break things or smash things. He would come at me like he was going to hit me. He told me I was lucky that he punched walls instead of me. He pulled a gun out and he was like waving it around, and then he threw it at me and it hit the wall behind me, punched a hole in the wall. When I went to run to try to leave, he pulled the gun out and held it to his head. He said that he's gonna blow his brains out and I was gonna have to watch him. And he pulled the trigger and he shot a hole in the ceiling in the kitchen.
She owned a gun. Doug had told her to keep it in a specific safe. She moved it. She practiced, and on September 27th, 2020, she shot Douglas Benefield at their home in Parrish, Florida. Doug Benefield died from that shot. The defense's argument, Douglas Benefield was a violent abuser. Ashley had documented injuries. Witnesses testified to her fear. Her behavior throughout the marriage, and in the moment of the shooting, was consistent with what traumatized people do when they believe their life is in danger. Both of those things may be true simultaneously. That's what made this case impossible to categorize. The jury deliberated for days. They did not convict her of murder. They did not acquit her. They found something in the gray, and they gave it the only name the law had for it: manslaughter, second degree, 20 years. Her daughter Emerson will be 26 when the sentence ends, if nothing changes. The word manslaughter has existed in law for centuries. It exists for exactly this: a moment of violence that a jury cannot categorize as premeditated murder, but also cannot categorize as legal self-defense. The prosecutor said Ashley Benefield planned this, that she moved the gun, practiced, calculated. That custody was the motive. The defense said the only thing she calculated was how to survive. The jury gave her 20 years. What they didn't give her was a name. Not a murderer, not a victim defending herself. A manslaughter conviction doesn't answer the question of what actually happened in that room. It just decides what the law does next. Ashley Benefield is serving 20 years. The appeals are ongoing. The question of what happened in that room remains exactly as open as it was the day the jury came back. The system produced a verdict. The verdict didn't produce clarity. Those are two different things.
Yeah, there's good days and rough days, good moments and rough moments.
You haven't spoken out before. Why did you decide to talk now?
I'm really doing it for other people because I know I'm not alone in this. There are women all over the country, all over the world, who have gone through or are going through hard situations behind closed doors. Until you have been there, or it's someone that you know and care about, it's not something that you think about.
There's a body. Our friend wasn't answering his phone. We just did a wellness check. We just came here, and he appears dead.
Okay.
There's blood. He's laying next to his bed, off of his bed, and there's blood. I can't get closer to see more than that.
Okay, so you can tell he's obviously not breathing or anything?
Yeah.
Is it like kind of like, you know, does he look like...
It doesn't look puddled. I can't look.
Okay, all right, I understand. Okay.
October 2025. Columbus, Ohio. A Tuesday morning, early enough that the street was still quiet. Spencer Tepe didn't show up for work. That was unusual enough that his employer called police before 10 a.m. Officers went to the house. Inside, 16 shots had been fired. Spencer was shot 7 times. Monique was shot 9 times, including once at close range to the face.
The autopsies show Monique and Spencer Tepe were shot a total of 16 times. Monique was shot 9 times, and Spencer, who was a Mason native, was shot 7 times.
Well, new details tonight in the killings of Dr. Spencer Tepe and his wife Monique, as a search warrant from their Wineland Park home is now unsealed. It's been 3 months since the couple was gunned down inside their home with their 2 young children inside.
A silencer had been used. No forced entry, no weapon left behind. Whoever did this came for them specifically. They knew where they were going, and they didn't want anyone to hear them arrive. Michael McKee's phone went completely dark. No activity, no calls, no data for 17 hours. Investigators determined those 17 hours were consistent with a round trip between Rockford, Illinois, and Columbus, Ohio. The drive from Rockford to Columbus, approximately 8 hours, 17 hours, 16 shots, no forced entry. Witnesses said that during the marriage, McKee had told Monique directly he could take her life at any time, that he would always consider her his wife. A family friend testified that after the divorce, McKee had continued to express that he would never let her go. Spencer Tepe had never met Michael McKee. That was enough. The children were found unharmed at the house. McKee was arrested not at his home, not while attempting to flee the state, not in a dramatic pursuit. He was found at a Chick-fil-A near his workplace during the day, after the phone had come back on. He was charged with aggravated murder. 2 counts, Spencer and Monique Tepe. The case is pending. The children were found unharmed, and they will never be unharmed. He made sure his phone was dark for 17 hours. He made sure there was no forced entry. He made sure a silencer was used. The planning that went into this is the most chilling thing about it.
I'm always going to remember her, just the positive impact. And I know everybody wants to give all this light on how she left, but let's give her flowers for how she was when she was here. Both of them, they were amazing people. Like, let's focus on that.
You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
Always get a question on Israel. And of course, we are America first here on this program. We are not America only. Israel is an ally. I love Israel. I treasure Israel. It's a beautiful country, not a perfect government, and not everything they've ever done is admirable or good or defensible, nor is the American government. That's not the point. But Israel as a nation is a place worth defending.
Before Tyler Robinson left his apartment on September 10th, 2025, he did something that investigators would later describe as deliberate. He wrote a note. He left it under his keyboard for his roommate to find. According to prosecutors, the note read, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." Then he left. He had a rifle with him, his grandfather's bolt-action rifle. Court documents allege he had engraved 4 of the bullets with messages. According to investigators, he had been planning this for more than a week.
The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting, and he did provide those messages to police. The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence.
Utah Valley University, Orem, Utah. An outdoor campus event called the Prove Me Wrong debate. Roughly 3,000 people in attendance. Charlie Kirk, 31, was at the podium. At approximately 2:50 p.m., a single shot fired from a rooftop approximately 142 yards away struck Kirk in the neck. He was taken to a local hospital. He was pronounced dead.
Great.
He was 31 years old. He had 2 children. Law enforcement released surveillance footage. A rooftop, a figure, a partial image. 2 people recognized the face. His parents. According to court documents, Robinson's father confronted his son by phone after seeing the surveillance image. In that call, Robinson, prosecutors allege, implied that he planned to take his own life. His parents convinced him to come home. His father, according to the charging document, eventually convinced him to speak to a family friend, a retired deputy sheriff. Accompanied by his parents, Tyler Robinson turned himself in at the Washington County Sheriff's Office 33 hours after the shooting. During the search for Robinson, investigators also found texts he had sent his roommate in the hours after the shooting. According to prosecutors, I'm sorry. He also wrote, according to court documents, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out.
Looking to his friends and the way he treated people overall, I don't know, I think this is really unexpected. I didn't see it coming at all. He, since I met him growing up, was always a kind, respectable, genuine kid. The kind of student that all this, I feel like, not just to me, but everyone else, has come really unexpected. He was always just like the type A student, the one that got stuff done on time, the one that always did his homework, admired by like adults and always respected adults and peers and friends, authority figures and everything like that.
Tyler Robinson is 23 years old. He is charged with aggravated murder, felony use of a firearm, obstruction of justice, 2 counts of witness tampering, and commission of a violent offense in the presence of a child. Prosecutors have announced they will seek the death penalty. As of July 2026, the preliminary hearing is actively underway. It is expected to last up to 5 days. Robinson has not yet entered a plea. The case has not gone to trial. Kirk's family, his widow Erica, and his parents Robert and Catherine attended the first day of the preliminary hearing. It was the first time they had seen Robinson in person. Erica Kirk now leads Turning Point USA, the organization her husband built and ran until September 10th, 2025. Kirk's family released a statement. Every court proceeding serves as a painful reminder of his death and the loss that has irrevocably impacted our lives and the lives of his children. His parents recognized their son's face in the surveillance footage. They called him. They walked him in. The machinery that ended this manhunt was 2 parents who did the hardest thing a parent can be asked to do. The case is not finished. Neither is the question of what that means. 5 cases, 5 states, 5 completely different situations, and one thing connecting them that's hard to name, but impossible to miss once you see it. In every single one of these cases, there was a system around that person, a mechanism, a structure, something built to respond. In the first case, 8 phone calls. Nobody connected them. In the second, a list of 45 names. The system didn't catch the plan. A coincidence did. In the third, a legal system that produced a verdict without producing clarity. A word, manslaughter, that describes an outcome without describing what happened. In the fourth, phone records that documented every step. Acquired after, not before. In the fifth, a note left under a keyboard, a rooftop, a rifle. And the 2 people who ended the manhunt were the shooter's own parents. Not a surveillance system, not a threat assessment team, not a flag on a background check. His parents. The question I keep coming back to isn't about any one of these cases. It's about all of them at once. What does the system have to be to actually protect the people inside it? Because in all 5 of these cases, a system existed. A system responded. And every single time it was either too late or too incomplete or produced an answer that wasn't really an answer. I don't have a clean ending for that. Neither do these 5 families. Subscribe to Darkest Crimes, the story behind the headline, every week